Okay, I'm back. Let's talk a little bit about Chapter 8, which deals with social inequality. And this has to do with the socioeconomic structure of society, the different social classes that people belong to. In my video lecture, I talked about how most Americans believe that they're middle class, or at least say that they believe that they're middle class. I guess wealthy people tend to feel like it sounds arrogant to say that you're part of the upper class. So many of them will identify as middle class, even though they're clearly much more fluent than that. And then people from the working class and the lower class may also identify as middle class because there seems to be, some stigma associated with being from the lower class. Uh, so we see that about 75% of Americans think they're in the middle class, although uh, it's really a much smaller percentage than that, probably in the 40 to 50 percent range. So sociologists use what we call the objective method of measuring socioeconomic status. It's a combination of a person's educational background, uh, their income, of course, is a part of it, and the occupational prestige that their job has, that it carries with it. So we know that janitors have less prestige than bank presidents and things of that nature. And so that's what we mean by that. And of course, today we also include location, social location in our calculations of socioeconomic status because someone making $60,000 in California lives a different lifestyle than someone who makes $60,000 in rural Alabama. Okay, so from chapter 6, like I said, I would definitely focus on the ways that sociologists measure socioeconomic status, and I would focus on the different social classes and how they're similar to and different from each other, and how we put people into different categories. And so that's a good little review on what you would focus on. Again, definitely pay attention to the sociological perspectives. The functionalists are going to point out that it's really necessary in society to have some inequality uh, in order to get people to do jobs that are really important to society. In other words, if everybody made the same amount of money, like in a communistic society, uh, why would anyone become a doctor if it's going to take many years of hard work and study, but you're not going to make any more money than the mechanic who lives next door to you? Then it might be hard to get people to fulfill those really important jobs in society. So we have to pay them at different levels in order to motivate people to go into those more uh, rigorous academic programs and things of that nature. Okay, so the functionalists are going to again point out how having some inequality in society is actually beneficial and functional for society. Although they will admit that there's more inequality in society than is necessary, particularly in modern capitalistic societies like the United States. There's a great deal more inequality than is necessary to get people to do those important jobs. Conflict theorists are going to focus on uh, the conflict between those who have wealth and those who do not, the bourgeoisie, the owners of the means of production, versus the workers who work in the factory. So most of us are part of the proletariat, according to Karl Marx. We have to sell our labor to someone who employs us and owns a business. So if you work in a factory making widgets, then you would be part of the proletariat. But if you own a small business, even if you only have 2 or 3 employees, Marx would consider you to be a part of the bourgeoisie, the owners of the means of production. And so Marx is going to focus on that conflict between those who have wealth and those who do not have wealth. And I think his theories today, with the income and wealth inequality that we have in the United States, are becoming even more pertinent to our discussion about how should society be structured, how should people be compensated, should we have a $15 an hour pay minimum wage law. There's been a discussion about that recently, and it's a concern that if we raise people's minimum wages to $15, that's going to make a lot of the products that we purchase on a daily basis more expensive, and that it will lead to greater unemployment because employers can't afford to keep as many employees if they have to increase almost double their wages. Okay, uh, so. And then, of course, the symbolic interactionists are going to focus on how growing up in a particular social class affects the individual as they mature and grow up. So that's a little bit different perspective. Again, they're going to look at uh, how a person's sense of identity, the culture that they grow up exposed to, the things that they come to appreciate, the things that are part of their social milieu. Are they people who go to the art museums and the ballets and things of that nature, or are they more likely to go to a NASCAR race? And some of that is linked to the social class that people belong to, right? Pardon me. So let's talk a little bit about Chapter 6, which deals with mass media and social media. And of course, from Chapter 6, you definitely want to understand what we mean by mass media, and you want to have some ideas about how the media can influence us in a variety of ways, and the functions, of course. We're back to the sociological perspectives here. The functionalists are going to talk about how mass media can inform us. It can shape our buying patterns. So consumerism is a part of this. It can talk about how, all the different functions that mass media and social media can serve. It can educate us about new products. It can influence the things that we want, the desires that we have, and the products that we want to buy. Uh, but it can also desensitize us to some pretty horrendous things. And so they're going to talk about not only the functions, but in some cases the dysfunctions of mass media and social media. We see that extremist organizations are very cleverly using social media to recruit new members and to spur people on to violent acts and things of that nature, protests and things of that nature. So, that is a very serious concern. Conflict theorists are going to focus on the people who have power and control the mass media. Again, the wealthy are the ones who own the publishing companies and the TV stations and the radio stations and the social media websites and things of that nature. And so uh, the conflict theorists are going to focus on things like gatekeeping and media monitoring and those kinds of things. And then the symbolic interactionists are going to look at the audience and how we as audience members are impacted by the messages that we receive, but then how we also influence society and influence mass media by participating in all of these things, by joining various social media groups and using various apps and things of that nature. And so, again, a very, very important chapter, I think. Um, but if you focus on those three sociological perspectives, that will certainly help prepare you for the Unit 2 exam. So from Unit 2, I would probably, from Chapter 6 on the essay question, the extra credit essay question, I would probably focus on how media can influence us to shape our opinions and things of that nature, and how that can be both a good thing and in some ways it can be a bad thing. So looking at that from the three sociological perspectives would probably be a good question. So from Chapter 7 again, I just want to reiterate, we're talking about crime and deviance, so I would expect to see an essay question about some of the different sociological explanations for crime and deviance. From Chapter 8, in terms of social inequality, uh, perhaps the way sociologists measure socioeconomic status and how the different social classes are similar to and different from each other. And then from Chapter 6 on media, how the media influences us in both positive and negative ways. Those are our 3 essay questions that I think you're likely to see on the exam. Again, the essay question is extra credit, so you don't have to complete one, but I highly, highly recommend that you do so because you're looking at up to a letter grade and only answer one, but you're looking at increasing your score by up to a letter grade. I just want to mention in closing that the extra credit assignment is due on the 22nd. So, you may want to get that done early so that you don't have to do it over spring break. I really want you guys to be able to take some time away from school. If you're all caught up in my class and in your other classes, hopefully, then you can really enjoy a week off and recharge your batteries, even if you're working. Normally you'd be working and going to school, and so you'd be really stressed. Even if you're working during spring break, hopefully you'll be able to take some time off from school and just kind of recharge your batteries intellectually, emotionally, and come back and finish the semester up real strong. Um, so that's my hope for you guys, that you can get caught up with everything. If you need for me to open a quiz or an exam or something that you were not able to complete during the winter weather storm, don't hesitate to get in contact with me. Contact me at jackie.herod@tccd.edu. That's jackie.herod@tccd.edu, or text me or call me at 817-205-3403. 817-205-3403, and we'll get you caught up, okay? Have a great spring break. Do well on this exam, and make me proud of you guys. All right, have a good one. Bye-bye.